Hey, welcome to my channel, 10 Piece. Today we're going to talk about another Jesus prophecy. It's one of the coolest Jesus prophecies, in my opinion, that there is. And it also answers a question. You know, when Jesus hung on the cross and he said, my God, why have you forsaken me? I always kind of wondered what he meant by that, what he meant exactly. It kind of seemed like it was out of place or whatever. And something I've learned though in the Bible is when there's something that seems out of place or doesn't seem right or doesn't necessarily make sense to you, there's generally a deeper meaning. And there's definitely a deeper meaning behind Jesus saying this. One thing about it is in Jesus' day, Jewish rabbis would teach their students to memorize verses from the Old Testament. And Psalm 22 would have been one of those verses that probably a lot of people memorized because it was written by King David around 1044 BC. So roughly 1,000 years before Jesus was born, this psalm was written. And it's actually amazing how accurate it is in predicting what happens to Jesus the day he was crucified. So I'm actually going to read a couple parts of it. I'm not going to read the whole thing. I encourage you to read it for yourself and try to dive into this because I believe anybody who reads the Bible with an open mind and trying to understand will come to the same conclusion that I have, that it's God's word and it's true. But anyway, Psalm 22 starts off, my God, why have you forsaken me? So that's what Jesus says when he's on the cross. And then it goes on to say, but I am a worm and not a man. I am scorned and despised by all. Everyone who sees me mocks me. They sneer and shake their heads, saying, is this the one who relies on the Lord? Then let the Lord save him. If the Lord loves him so much, let the Lord rescue him. So we know that Jesus was scorned and mocked by almost all people. There were very few people that actually followed Jesus and believed what Jesus said in the beginning. So we know Jesus was scorned and mocked. And then it goes on to say, do not stay so far from me, for trouble is near and no one else can help me. My enemies surround me like a herd of bulls. Fierce bulls of Bashan have hemmed me in. Like lions, they open their jaws against me, roaring and tearing into their prey. My life is poured out like water, and all my bones are out of joint. So from what I understand, being crucified, the gravity just pulls your body down and it slowly dislocates your bones from their joints. My heart is like wax melting within me. There's fluid when Jesus was crucified, there was fluid building up around his lungs and in his chest. My strength has dried up like sun-baked clay. My tongue sticks to the roof of my mouth. You have laid me in the dust and left me for dead. My enemies surround me like a pack of dogs. An evil gang closes in on me. He was surrounded by his enemies. They have pierced my hands. His hands and feet were pierced. So it says, they have pierced my hands and feet. I can count all my bones. When I read that, I can count all my bones. I definitely get that Jesus is feeling pain. If he feels all his bones, he feels pain everywhere in his body. My enemies stare at me and gloat. And here's the best part. Here's the thing that is like beyond, this isn't a coincidence. This is beyond being a coincidence. They divide my garments among themselves and throw dice for my clothing. So when Jesus was on the cross, the guards actually threw dice for his clothes. They were trying to decide who was going to get his garments, and they actually cast lots or threw dice for them. So to me, when Jesus was quoting that on the cross, he was pointing to that chapter, which accurately describes what was happening that day. That chapter was written 1,000 years beforehand. And when he said that, the Jewish rabbis and other people, all the Jewish people that had learned the Old Testament, they would have remembered Psalm 22 and the rest of what it said because they memorized the Old Testament. So I just think that this is another amazing example that proves that the Bible transcends time. It was inspired by a being that transcends time, and it proves itself. So if you study God's Word, you will find that it proves itself. This was 10 Piece. I hope you enjoyed it. God bless. Please like, share, and subscribe. Thank you.